And behind me is a California black oak that we harvested on the fire station project that I did almost 2 years ago. It's been sitting here ever since, and frankly too big to go on the mill. Well, one of my coworkers has done a really nice job of ripping it in half with a chainsaw freehand. So I'm gonna get it up here on the mill and turn it into some 9/4 boards. I'm gonna throw a new blade on the mill and get after it. "35 inches tall, 22 and a half wide, even after being cut in half." So this is a monster, and well, I think there's nothing left to do, but I'm going to try and straighten it up just a little bit and then get after it. I'm gonna rotate this 180, put the flat side down on the deck, take a couple slabs off of the bottom side here, and then I want to lay it so that I can clean up this edge that was cut with the chainsaw and just give it a nice square edge for down the road when it's dry and ready for turning into a table. that. It definitely will be. Well, I got 9 slabs out of that half a log. The widest is 22 inches. They're 9/4 or 2 1/4 inches thick, just over 12 feet long. And then I made some posts that are quarter sawn. My boss doesn't really have a table design in mind yet, but I thought I'd make some posts just in case that is what he ends up doing. But there should be plenty of lumber for a nice table. Normally I like to stack up my slabs at the end of the video and show off the grain, but that ain't happening. These things are heavy and I'm pooped. I'm going to pack up my mill and head home. Well, hey guys, today's forecast is calling for a 100% chance of indoor projects. Well, yesterday I was doing a little cleaning up in the shop and I got some more paneling up, and I think I came up with an idea for my bench top. Now, leaned up in the corner here are these black oak boards that I milled 2.5 years ago. I put them in my black cargo trailer with a dehumidifier and dried them down to about 12% moisture. And I was going to build a dining table for my former employer before he decided to go with black walnut, because the more research I did on black oak, the more I discovered it's mostly used for firewood. It's not great furniture making stuff, but I think it'll make a great workbench. The first thing I'm going to do is get this stuff pulled out, and I'm going to cut it down to dimension. I'm going to leave one live edge. I want to end up with about a 30-inch deep, maybe 28-inch deep bench. So I'm going to size it, and then I'm going to run it through the planer to get everything the same thickness and glue it all up. Well, while this is drying, I'm going to work on the base that this is going to sit on. So I'm going to run to Home Depot and get some 2x6s. No, I'm not going to Home Depot. There's some pretty good sized knots that are going to need epoxy, and so this is the underside. I'm going to tape them off because I have a feeling the epoxy would just go right through like a strainer. So I'm going to take it off and get a jump start on filling those with some epoxy. Well, I'm going to mix up some epoxy and start filling these things up. Well, it fits, and it doesn't look half bad. Whew. Might have to get a shade for the window. It's not quite as tight as I wanted it, but I'll just trim that out a little bit all the way around, kind of finish it off nice. Well, I've got a custom thing I want to do here, and if you watched my last video, you probably already know. I'm going to get that set up. Well, that's right, guys. I'm going to put my logo in my bench top here. I've laid out the center of the window. My plan is to do a deep engrave and infill it with colored epoxy. Well, that came out absolutely awesome. There's a nice deep score there that I can infill with colored epoxy now, which I'm going to get on right now. Man, that looks good. That is so sharp. You couldn't do that intricate detail with a CNC router. I mean, that is super crystal clear. I love it. Sorry guys, I got my diesel heater going because it is freezing in here. All right, well, I've given the epoxy a couple of days to cure. I hope I didn't screw it up. I went a little aggressive with the torch trying to pop bubbles, and I think I might have created more bubbles. So we'll get it sanded and see what it looks like. But I did this test engrave, and I used the same epoxy, and I think it came out pretty good. This is half the depth, actually less than half of the depth of the engrave that I did on my tabletop. So the color should be a little more pronounced, but I guess we'll just have to sand her down and find out. Yeah, I don't know about this. Well, unfortunately, I think because it's so cold in my shop, this stuff is it's not cured enough to sand. It's tearing instead of sanding. So I'm going to set my diesel heater up to kind of warm this area and try and speed this along, and maybe later today I can finish sanding it. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep working on my wall and show you what I've got planned for that. Well, I went ahead and gave this an extra day. It was really still pretty tacky and tearing instead of sanding, but I think it feels a lot better now, so I'm going to work on this again real slow and see. I've got a bunch of bubbles I'm going to have to fix, which is unfortunate. I think what I should have done is painted this all with clear epoxy to seal up all the end grain, because this oak is so porous. Just all kinds of bubbles came up as it was curing, so we can fix it. Well, it's been about 5 days since I poured that touch-up epoxy. It has been so cold here lately. For the last several weeks, we've been getting a bunch of snow. It's only 37 degrees in my shop right now, so I gave the epoxy a couple extra days to try and cure up. I'm going to do a finish sanding, and if I have any more bubble issues, I've got some clear CA glue that'll be here today, and I'm going to call it good with that. It's a workbench after all. It's probably going to get damaged, but I'm going to finish sanding this so that I can get this darn thing finished. Well, I've still got some voids left over from bubbles in the epoxy, but I'm over it. This is a workbench. If this was a client's table, I would be going a different route, but I'm going to mix up some Rubio monocoat and finish this thing off. Man, I'll bring you guys in for a closer look. Gonna work nice. Well guys, that's gonna do it for today. I am going to continue on this. I'm gonna build some drawers and a shelf across the bottom. I'm gonna trim it all out, and I've got an idea for how to cover these pressure treated posts that the shop was built out of. I have a link in the description for that X-Tool laser that does this awesome work. I love that thing. I just need to probably wait for warmer weather next time when doing the epoxy, because that was laser smooth, literally, except for the bubbles because of how cold it is. But stick around next week. I've completely finished the rest of this wall, which you probably saw a little peek of earlier in this video. And the parts ferry came for my sawmill truck. So I'm going to pick that back up, and I've got a lot of work I can do on it, and should be able to get a lot of progress. I should have it rolling. I should have the air ride built, engine and transmission, and it's going to be a good video. So until then guys, I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next week.